As bitter winds sweep through China's icy northern territories and mercury drops dangerously low, something extraordinary unfolds. Throughout rural communities and historic settlements, comfort arrives not through modern utilities, it arrives through creative problem solving. Across millennia, Chinese households have maintained warmth using only flame, soil, rock, and intelligent construction. These techniques aren't forgotten relics, they're active demonstrations of human adaptability and environmental wisdom. From the radiant Kang platforms of Manchuria to the gentle glow of braziers in historic Beijing gardens, each ember shares a narrative of human perseverance. They outlasted empires, storms, and power failures, remaining effective in modern times. How did complete households endure savage cold seasons without contemporary technology? What wisdom hides within the construction, the residue, and the burning coals of historical China? Continue watching, because this exploration will transform your understanding of comfort from machinery to cultural practice. This reveals how Chinese families maintained warmth without modern fuel or power. The Kang Bed-Stove. Across frigid northern China, where frozen months dominate half the calendar and precipitation crystallizes into sheets, comfort transcends luxury. It determines survival. Picture a dwelling illuminated by one fire source, its vapors threading under flooring, distributing invisible comfort through masonry and earthenware. This describes the Kang, an engineering triumph of antiquity, simultaneously sleeping surface and cooking apparatus, a functional furnace sustaining countless generations. The Kang emerged more than 2 millennia past within the Yellow River watershed, territory where timber proved limited and cold proved ruthless. Agricultural communities and construction experts discovered how to direct thermal energy from kitchen fires through passages carved under elevated masonry platforms. The vapors would wind underneath sleeping areas before exiting via chimneys, heating the surface piece by piece. Households would congregate there for dining, conversation, and rest, distributing not merely location, but thermal comfort collectively. Its endurance depends upon earthen materials. The Kang consists of substantial bricks and clay, substances that retain thermal energy like storage cells. After heating, it maintains temperature across many hours, occasionally lasting until sunrise, requiring no additional fuel. The construction eliminates waste. Every bit of energy from preparing food or heating beverages contributes to household comfort. Yet the Kang represents more than heating equipment. It embodies lifestyle philosophy. Within northern dwellings, community interaction occurs atop the Kang. Senior family members share narratives. Young ones rest under coverings. Shared meals happen over small tables positioned on its platform. It transforms thermal comfort into social cohesion. Innovation emerging from cultural heritage. Today, throughout remote regions of Heilongjiang or Inner Mongolia, the Kang persists, modernized with piping and ventilation, yet remaining faithful to its historical essence. It demonstrates sustainability, effectiveness, and profound humanity. Evidence that progress doesn't always require electrical power. When darkness arrives and gusts rage past paper partitions, the Kang radiates quietly under blankets, a constant rhythm against the chill. While households sleep, the comfort remains, silent, reliable, timeless. Beyond the Kang's steady warmth, different flames once danced throughout China's winters, mobile, glowing crimson, saturated with smoke and ceremony. The comfort of metal and coal, transported manually, forms our following narrative. The charcoal brazier. Morning air feels sharp within an aged Beijing enclosure. Ice adheres to ceramic roofing, and exhaled air becomes visible in dawn illumination. Inside, coldness persists until a tendon center, bearing circular metal containers, faintly glowing scarlet. In them, charcoal combusts without visible flame, exhaling slow, consistent thermal energy. This represents the huopen, the charcoal heating bowl, China's most personal fire source. Centuries before gas heating systems or centralized warmth distribution, the Huopen anchored winter existence. From royal compounds of the Forbidden Palace to modest tea establishments and scholarly chambers, its comfort connected all social levels. It transcended mere utility. It embodied practice. Charcoal, meticulously prepared and ignited until burning cleanly, was positioned in containers of brass, copper, or earthenware. After lighting, it produced gentle, smokeless thermal energy across hours. Its effectiveness relies upon regulation. Charcoal burns not with visible flame, but with persistence. The radiant coals emit warmth gradually, without depleting much oxygen or creating dense smoke, ideal for confined spaces. Within certain households, citrus rinds or botanical materials were scattered upon the coals to perfume surroundings, merging warmth with aroma. Households would assemble around the brazier, warming extremities and sharing tales deep into darkness. Intellectuals composed verses beside it, drinking tea while coals murmured softly. In prosperous homes, the brazier evolved into artistic expression, crafted with engravings, decorated metals, even precious stone supports, representing sophistication and cultivation. Yet, for impoverished families, it meant survival itself. One container of burning carbon confronting endless cold. The Huopen carried both existence and peril. Without adequate air circulation, it could deplete the oxygen it provided warmth to. Silent, unseen, lethal. Still, communities trusted it, learned from it, perfected the equilibrium between fire and atmosphere. Presently, the charcoal brazier remains emblematic of historical China's elegance, a slow, glowing remembrance of times when warmth originated from deliberation, not electricity. Certain tea establishments still illuminate them during winter, their coals reflecting centuries of quiet persistence. While the Huopen warmed chambers and spirits, others aimed to warm the actual earth beneath their steps, an architectural achievement and creative feat that transformed the ground itself into functioning heating. Radiant floor heating. Precipitation falls quietly across Shanxi flatlands. Yet within a farmer's dwelling, the flooring itself exhales warmth. You traverse the chamber, and thermal energy rises beneath your steps, gentle and constant, enveloping the atmosphere in quiet comfort. This represents China's historical technique of radiant thermal energy. The heated masonry floor, where fire courses beneath dwellings like circulation through vessels. Centuries previously, northern constructors confronted relentless challenges. How to survive below freezing darkness when combustible materials proved scarce. The solution emerged from identical ingenuity that created the Kang platform, but extended throughout complete chambers. Under flooring, a maze of ventilation connected to kitchen stoves or ground hearths. As smoke and heated atmosphere traveled through these pathways, they warmed the substantial clay or brick sections above, transforming the ground into one enormous heater. Its effectiveness depended upon equilibrium. The flooring was constructed to capture thermal energy during food preparation and discharge it progressively across subsequent hours. It proved sustainable, effective, and almost mystical in its quietness. The arrangement utilized every portion of energy the fire generated. Nothing squandered, everything distributed. The identical meal that satisfied the household's hunger simultaneously satisfied the dwelling with warmth. To walk unshod on those surfaces after sunset meant feeling existence itself. Thermal energy preserved in rock, emanating long beyond extinguished flames. Households spread their sleeping materials across the warmest sections, children pursuing the warmth like illumination that never diminished. Throughout winter's depths, the dwelling became an island of spring. These heated surfaces weren't merely functional, they influenced culture. Within numerous homes, the kitchen became life's center, not solely for nourishment, but for thermal comfort. Dining, relaxation, and household all orbited around the identical fire. It represented architecture founded in compassion, in understanding that comfort originates beneath your steps. Today, throughout rural northern China, remnants of this historical construction remain. Contemporary radiant heating arrangements follow identical principles, demonstrating that historical concepts don't disappear, they transform. While these dwellings convert stone into warmth, another creation looked toward the earth itself, forming clay and residue into something even more basic, yet equally essential: the modest stove that nourished both physique and flame. The earth stove. Within a clouded mountain community, sunrise breaks to wood crackling and fire's subdued resonance. Inside a clay-enclosed kitchen, an elderly woman crouches beside a stove molded directly from earth itself. The smoke spirals through a ceiling opening, the atmosphere dense with rice aroma, ash, and warmth. This represents the tu tao, the earthen stove, among China's most ancient and clever thermal sources. Long before bricks or metal ventilation, the tu tao functioned as both hearth and heater. Constructed from compressed clay blended with plant fibers, it was sculpted handmade to accommodate the dwelling. Each contour and vent a product of generations of experimentation and remembrance. The fire that prepared daily meals simultaneously warmed the household. Its thermal energy directed through ventilation running under floors or beside walls before dispersing as smoke. Nothing squandered, everything distributed. Its endurance depends upon earth itself. Clay captures thermal energy gradually, then discharges it long beyond extinguished flames. Even modest fire could maintain chamber warmth throughout darkness. The stove's elementary construction meant it could be mended with mud, built anywhere, and powered with nearly anything. Branches, plant fibers, grain coverings, even dried animal waste during difficult periods. The tuzao wasn't merely a kitchen, it represented the dwelling's core. Households assembled around it for meals, warmth, and dialogue. Its fire represented abundance, continuation, and attention, the rhythm of domestic existence. Within rural beliefs, the kitchen deity Zhao Jun observed from this exact hearth, documenting each household's actions for celestial powers. To extinguish the stove's flame proved unthinkable. It signified breaking the dwelling's essence. Presently, throughout China's countryside, numerous households still maintain their tuzao, not solely for heritage, but for flavor. Nourishment prepared over earth and timber carries depth no contemporary stove can replicate, a taste of smoke, soil, and duration. As darkness arrives, the coals fade, yet the clay partitions stay warm, emanating a remembrance of fire. Beyond this elementary hearth, different warmth once radiated in darkness, created not from timber or stone, but from rock itself, heated and nestled under winter coverings. Warm stone bed. Throughout frozen territories of northern China, where darkness wind screams like creatures and ice advances along apertures, warmth once originated not from flame, but from stone. Inside dim earthen dwellings, households would heat river stones in the hearth until they radiated with captured fire. These stones, substantial and polished, were then enclosed in fabric and positioned under coverings or located inside wooden containers. They converted the sleeping surface itself into a quiet furnace. This represented the technique of the warm stone bed, an elementary historical miracle of comfort. Its beginnings extend back millennia to territories where timber proved valuable and winter proved merciless. Stones, unlike fire, demanded no supervision, and release thermal energy gradually through prolonged silent darkness hours. Their endurance depended upon their mass. After heating, they maintained warmth across hours, occasionally until sunrise, discharging it progressively like a constant rhythm. Throughout mountain communities, individuals learned which stones retained thermal energy optimally, granite for persistence, river rock for gentleness, and treated them as ancient companions in winter's conflict. Beyond survival, the warm stone bed contains ceremonial significance. Heating the stones represented a nightly ceremony, a moment of household attention. Guardians would evaluate the stones with their hands, enclosing them in materials before positioning them near their offspring's extremities. That modest action, transferring warmth from fire to stone, from hand to hand, became emblematic of affection stronger than cold. Even as contemporary blankets and electric cushions replace them, the memory of warm stones persists in the countryside, reflected in the rhythmic deliberation of those who still heat them during electrical failures or extended winters. In their quietness, they remind us that warmth need not roar. It can resonate softly under coverings, historical and persistent. Yet as the hearth cooled and sunrise returned, different warmth followed China's inhabitants, not concealed in sleeping surfaces or partitions, but radiating openly, transported from chamber to chamber, flickering like a diminutive sun in winter's grasp itself. The fire basket. The winter atmosphere bites intensely throughout southern Chinese highlands. It's not the piercing, arid cold of northern regions, but a moist, bone-penetrating chill that seeps through partitions, settles in garments, and attaches to the spirit. Yet inside a timber dwelling, something radiates gently in darkness, a container filled with active fire. This represents the hualong, the fire basket, a creation as elementary as it proves profound. Across centuries, before electricity or gas, southern households battled cold with nothing except coal, bamboo, and creative problem-solving. They wove containers from divided cane or fashioned bowls of iron, filled them with residue, sand, and radiant charcoal. The outcome was a mobile hearth, light enough to transport, secure enough to position by one's limbs, strong enough to contain the warmth of complete darkness. The technique to its endurance depends upon deliberation. The container doesn't combust, it respires. Atmosphere penetrates through the woven openings, nourishing the coals sufficiently to maintain them active but not intense. The residue insulates the coals, delaying their extinction, permitting them to discharge thermal energy in constant rhythm. It's a performance of equilibrium, where excessive air produces flame and insufficient extinguishes it. During evenings, households assembled around the fire container under substantial coverings, distributing roasted legumes and murmured narratives. Children warmed their extremities, women repaired garments, and seniors gazed into the radiance, the scarlet illumination coloring their features like active lanterns. The container became both warmth and assembly, its flicker transforming cold darkness into remembrance. Yet the hulong wasn't merely comfort, it represented survival. Throughout extended winters and mountain precipitation, it dried moist garments, heated nourishment, and maintained wellness. Even wanderers transported smaller adaptations during travel, enclosed in fabric to press against their torsos. It was fire made human, gentle, faithful, and active. Presently, throughout quiet communities and aged tea establishments, some still maintain a hulong by their extremities when electricity disappears. Its aroma of smoke and residue persists like sentimentality, evidence that occasionally the most elementary warmth combusts the longest. As the final coal fades, different thermal energy begins to shimmer, contained not in bamboo, but in metal, waiting to position against the core. Hot water vessels. The wind outside moans through passages of an aged Chinese enclosure. Ice advances along aperture frameworks, and the moon radiates pale over rooftops covered with frozen sheets. Inside, an elderly intellectual sits by candlelight, ink instrument trembling in cold. Then his attendant arrives, bearing a bronze container steaming with existence. He encloses it in fabric and positions it under his garment. The chill withdraws, replaced by a gradual golden warmth. This represents the historical hot water container, an elementary miracle of metal and vapor created long before rubber or electricity. Throughout past dynasties, these containers made of copper, brass, or bronze were called nuan ping, or warm water vessels. Some were formed like flasks, others like compressed gourds or circular plates. Prosperous households commissioned them with carved dragons and cloud designs. Agricultural workers used modest clay or iron adaptations. Yet the function remained identical: to capture fire's transient thermal energy and maintain it proximate to the human physique. Its effectiveness depends upon heat transfer and containment. Water, when heated, preserves thermal energy considerably more successfully than atmosphere. Transferred into metal, it became a mobile sun, emanating constant warmth across hours. Enclosed in material or positioned under coverings, it transformed frozen sleeping surfaces into sanctuaries. The historical Chinese even utilized smaller adaptations as hand warmers, concealed within sleeves during extended winter walks or positioned under infant blankets. These containers weren't merely functional, they contained affection. Throughout imperial compounds, craftsmen refined them into artistic expressions, some gilded, some enamel decorated, others equipped with handles and covers to maintain vapor secured tightly. Within scholars' chambers, they positioned beside inkstones, guaranteeing that digits could still grasp the instrument steadily through bitter darkness. Presently, remnants of the historical nuan ping remain in every contemporary hot water container and electric blanket, a heritage reborn through innovation. Its essence persists: warmth made mobile, personal, and human. Beyond the flicker of fire and the murmur of vapor, another concealed thermal form once existed, integrated into the actual garments of those who confronted cold, converting clothing itself into active coal. The fire bag. The darkness wind sweeps across the Great Barrier, bearing the piercing of precipitation and quietness. Warriors stand vigilant in layers of wool and hemp, their exhalation rising in spectral plumes. Yet under those substantial garments, a concealed warmth flickers proximate to their skin, a diminutive pouch of fire. This represents the hu dai, or fire bag, among historical China's most clever methods to wear thermal energy itself. Long before electric warmers or insulated garments, individuals in northern and mountain territories learned to capture coals in modest metal or clay containers and enclose them in fabric or leather. These were positioned under layers of clothing or secured around the waist to maintain the physique's center warm. In its most elementary form, a huodai contained several radiant coals, nestled in residue or sand, constructed to smolder gradually without flame. It was mobile fire, dangerous if mismanaged, yet essential in freezing conditions. The technique depended upon moderation and skill. Excessive atmosphere, and the coals flared. Insufficient, and they extinguished. Skilled practitioners learned to equilibrate both, guaranteeing the warmth persisted through extended journeys or darkness on the watchtower. Throughout certain territories, women stitched pouches with embroidered coverings to contain these thermal containers, converting survival into artistic expression. Wanderers, warriors, and agricultural workers all relied upon the huadai. Throughout aged manuscripts, intellectuals describe them as the warmth that accompanies the physique, a quiet companion confronting merciless cold. Some even perfumed the residue with botanical materials or dried blossoms, merging comfort with aroma. Beyond functionality, the firebag represented perseverance. It embodied the concept that even modest flame, meticulously protected, could challenge the coldest darkness. Guardians would prepare them for their offspring before extended winter journeys. Partners gifted them as symbols of attention, literal warmth distributed between spirits. Though scarce still utilize huadai presently, their essence exists in every pocket heater and rechargeable hand warmer. They remind us that innovation frequently originates with necessity, and that warmth, across every era, represents something we transport with ourselves. Yet for those who possessed no hearth or dwelling, there existed another sanctuary, one filled with vapor, laughter, and the collective exhalation of a city's winter spirit. Public bathhouses. Outside, the winter wind sweeps through passages of aged harbin, converting the atmosphere piercing as glass. Exhalation crystallizes mid-air. Doors remain secured. Yet behind substantial timber partitions and rising vapor clouds, laughter reverberates. Inside, the chill vanishes. This represents the bathhouse, once a foundation of northern Chinese existence, where warmth represented not merely survival, but community. Centuries before centralized heating or flowing water, individuals throughout China's colder provinces constructed public bathhouses heated completely by fire. Under stone flooring, substantial stoves roared, directing their thermal energy through ventilation that warmed every chamber. Boiling water filled great timber containers. Vapor attached to the ceiling, and the atmosphere shimmered like summer. For numerous individuals, this represented the sole genuine sanctuary from cold. Its endurance depended upon distributed thermal energy. By concentrating the warmth from one enormous furnace into a solitary structure, complete neighborhoods could experience comfort with minimal combustible materials. The partitions captured moisture and warmth. The vapor itself softened the atmosphere, loosening muscles, facilitating respiration, and thawing essence. The bathhouse became both physical and social hearth, where individuals not solely bathed, but conversed, consumed nourishment, and relaxed collectively. Throughout imperial periods, even royal compounds possessed private vapor chambers. Throughout rural settlements, the yutong or pengtong represented the core of winter existence. Agricultural workers arrived from territories, warriors from their stations, intellectuals from their cold chambers. Here, everyone proved equal in the mist. Prosperity dissolved, status vanished, and humanity warmed alongside. Beyond cleanliness, these bathhouses contained profound symbolism. To cleanse oneself in fire-heated water meant renewing both physique and spirit. To discard the cold, the hardship, and commence again. It represented warmth made communal, where the thermal energy of fire joined the warmth of dialogue. Presently, throughout China's northern cities, the heritage persists. Contemporary bathhouses resonate with identical essence, vapor rising, voices merging, existence thawing. In every exhalation of warmth, you can still perceive remnants of the aged furnaces, the laughter of strangers converted kin by winter's compassion. Yet long before such magnificent chambers of fire and vapor, the Chinese had already perfected different warmth. One constructed not on flame, but on construction itself, where the actual dwelling became a living protection against cold. Courtyard architecture. Throughout the core of aged Beijing, winter presses down like silent weight. The wind cuts through narrow passages, dispersing dust and murmurs. Yet behind substantial gray partitions, past a timber gate adorned with scarlet writings, exists a realm untouched by cold. A Sihuiyuan, or traditional Chinese courtyard dwelling. Here, warmth isn't created by fire alone, but by construction, harmony, and the wisdom of centuries. The Sihuiyuan represents an architectural composition written against the elements. Across millennia, northern constructors formed these dwellings to challenge harsh winters and sweltering summers alike. Every detail proved purposeful. The exterior partitions, created of dense brick and clay, formed a thermal obstruction, maintaining cold atmosphere out and preserving daytime thermal energy. The courtyard confronted south, absorbing the weak winter illumination, while tall north-confronting partitions obstructed the frigid northern gusts. Its endurance depends upon unity. A Sihuan isn't a solitary dwelling, it's an arrangement. Each chamber connects along the courtyard's boundaries, distributing partitions that preserve warmth from adjacent fires or Kang stoves. Timber beams, clay tiles, and substantial earthen flooring function collectively like layers of a living organism, respiring warmth through construction rather than innovation. Even the roof angles and aperture frameworks were constructed to manage atmosphere and illumination, inviting comfort, preserving energy. Yet beyond architecture, the Sihuiyuan embodied deeper warmth. Household. Generations existed around the identical courtyard. Grandparents in the north section, guardians in the east and west, offspring playing under the open atmosphere. Throughout winter, meals prepared in the central kitchen transmitted gentle thermal energy through distributed partitions. The courtyard became the essence of togetherness, where even throughout coldest months, laughter resonated against sunlit stone. Presently, numerous Sihuiyuan have been modernized, their historical constructions adapted for urban existence, yet their principles remain timeless. Passive heating, natural insulation, sustainable comfort without waste. Architects still examine them as models of human-centered construction, long before the era of temperature regulators. As precipitation drifts gently onto curved tile roofing, a Sihuiyuan stands firm, its partitions respiring warmth, its courtyard radiating with remembrance. As China's history of historical thermal energy reaches conclusion, one question persists. How numerous of these aged fires still exist quietly under contemporary stone, waiting for remembrance? If you're interested to discover more about Chinese lifestyle approaches, its culture and heritage tested by duration, explore additional content available here.